Okay, so the endangered species that I chose is the Shasta crayfish. The Shasta crayfish is a crustacean that is found in a very small habitat in Northern California. It has a dark shell with orange edges, and it is found in the riverbeds and the small ponds in the headwaters of the Modoc Plateau. The Modoc Plateau is an area that was formed about 2 to 10 million years ago from the eruptions of the volcanoes, and they're found in the cold spring waters in that area. Their colors are kind of the same colors of like the volcano, the dark and the orange. They have a dark shell with the orange edges as well as an orange underbelly usually. They were listed as endangered in 1988 and have remained on the list. Their advocates are the Fish and Wildlife Services of the U.S. as well as California. And there's a foundation that is taken over kind of the job as stewardship for them, and that's the Spring Rivers Foundation. That foundation has a lot of biologists and conservationists that work to preserve the Shasta crayfish. The Shasta crayfish are losing their habitat to the invasion of a invasive species called the signal crayfish and also human activity in its habitat. The signal crayfish are very aggressive, and the Shasta crayfish are not. They're not territorial. They're very gentle, and a lot of them can live together. But the signal crayfish are very aggressive. They grow almost as quick as doubly as quick as the Shasta crayfish, and so they develop much quicker. They're much bigger. They're more aggressive. So they become the Shasta crayfish become prey to the signal crayfish, as well as the signal crayfish will mate with the female Shasta crayfish, and they will produce non-viable eggs. So that's interfering with the reproduction of the Shasta crayfish as well. Also, human activity in its area has cut off a lot of the populations from each other, allowing the signal crayfish to invade and take over, and kind of cut off the water flows in certain areas. There's a lot of hydroelectric activity in the area that's disrupted the habitat. There's been chemical treating for invasive fish as well as snails, and that's also wiped out the Shasta crayfish populations, had damage on it. The habitat for this species is very small. As you can see in the map, it's a very limited, small little area in that volcanic plateau area. There are 8 separate populations that have been cut off because, like I said, the hydroelectric activity has cut off the river flow and created little ponds and lakes, and they are found in the rivers around there. But they're all around in the Pitt River, Hat Creek, Tool River, I think Little Tool River, and Fall River in Northern California. The climate change, and also there's some areas that they've been extirpated because of the human activity in the dams, cutting off the water and stuff. Climate change is causing drought that's cutting off the populations from each other, as well as lowering water levels and increasing water temperatures. That is making parasites and other things that can grow in that water, which are deadly to the crayfish, grow and damage the crayfish. The species, in my opinion, needs to remain listed as the population habitat is so small. The Shasta crayfish are kind of a fragile species. They don't adapt very well to different temperatures. They're small, they're not territorial, so they're at a really high risk of extinction because they require such specific habitat for them to survive. So the next step, I believe, is in developing programs for working on captive breeding, and I believe that that's happening, as well as they've kind of designated certain areas as kind kind of areas where they monitor and make sure that there's no signal crawdads in there, and they need to work on elimination of the signal crawdads in the overall habitat, but they have designated small areas to really focus on that breeding and keep the signal crawdads out so that the Shasta crawdads can flourish. And these are my references. Most of them are from Fish and Wildlife Service. There's also the Fish and Wildlife, their recovery plan for the Shasta crayfish, which was done in 1998, and then some information from the Spring Rivers Foundation. Thank you.